Six Labs. I work on the Africa Seed Fund. It's an $85 million fund investing in East, West, and North Africa. We invest in tech and tech-enabled businesses. Super excited to be on this panel and ready to create some chaos in the conversation.
Thanks, Namara. Thea?
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Thea. My full-time, I run marketing for a fintech based in Cape Town called Stitch. And my part-time, I run an organization for women called Women Who Build Africa. So our goal is to try to get more women into the founder space, into the investor space, into the leadership space across Africa.
Awesome. Tilly?
Good morning, everybody. I'm Chudizi Matlala, and I'm from E Squared Investments. We're a stage and sector agnostic investment company, and I am the Chief Portfolio Officer there.
Hello, I'm Henry Zitzman. I look after startup programs. I'm the problem in EMEA. But most importantly, for Amazon Web Services, the cloud that was invented literally in Cape Town. So it's a very dear and passionate discussion for me, and hopefully we can uncover that depth on the panel with Catherine.
Thanks, Henry. So I'm Catherine Young. I'm the founder of Thinkroom Consulting 12, 13 years ago, and then co-own Grindstone and Grindstone Ventures with Knife Capital, and then a partner at Knife Capital, a VC out of Cape Town. I want to sketch the context and allow me 2 minutes. When there's a gender diversity panel, I always get nervousness from the women and from the men. And here's the reality of it. It's gender diversity. It's not feminism or sexism or whatever the case may be. I want to not argue with emotion or with opinions, but with some facts. I want to give you some statistics with my reading glasses on. So in 2023, September, a number of us in the ecosystem in Africa pledged to really just bring the gender diversity in balance. And balance is the important word here. And I'm going to tell you why balance is the important word. We had 20 leading investment companies or more, I don't know what the latest number is, sign this pledge, and we're all working hard. Here's the good news. Africa is ahead of global, right? I'm going to share some statistics with you. We're making good strides, but not yet enough. So 1.7 billion last year dollars in Africa funded into startups, of which well over 1.3 billion to male-led and founded startups, and then a small little bit of $37 million of the $1.7 billion to female-founded businesses. Female-only founded teams, at least we went one level down. This was from Big Stack, $29 million. So those are the bad numbers. Here's some of the good numbers, though. Of 2,600 African tech startups, this was a sample last year, 17.3% now had at least one female co-founder, up from 14.6% in 2022. We're making strides. 11.1% had a female CEO, up from 9.6% the year before. Africa, you should give yourselves a round of applause. I mean that. Can we do that? Right. Here's the business case, and I can quote many, many more stats, but I'm not going to because we don't have the time. But here's the case for gender diversity. Did you know that women-led businesses generate 78% more revenue per dollar invested than just purely male-led? Did you know that startups with a female founder employ 2.5 times more women than those without? Did you know that women-led startups are more likely to prioritize societal impact and inclusivity than those who don't? Do you know that blended teams of a good mix of male-female bring more value to investors than the unblended teams? And lastly, do you know that women venture capitalists, I didn't read you the stats even, the numbers are dismal in terms of venture capital, female-founded businesses, etc. But they are most likely to bring twice as many female-led investments to the IC than those who don't. It's a whole story, and that is the end of my bit. The message I want to leave you with, and then I'm going to hand over to the panelists, is that it's not about female, it's about balance. It's about balanced portfolios. It's about balanced investment committees. It's about balanced boards. Why? Because we will have impact and make more money for all of us. So I've said my say, Namara. So thank you for allowing me that, but I wanted to sketch the context, because otherwise we're going to sit in the same gender diversity panel again next year and try and fix the problems. But the business case makes sense. So Tsili, I want to start with you. I have a question specifically around funding disparities. So despite this incremental progress that we're seeing, most of the money still goes to male-founded businesses only. And although we can't live with, and we don't want to live without our male colleagues, we need the balance. What are these systemic issues that are still perpetuating this?
There are several, in my view. But I'll touch on the ones that I think, are the most prominent. The first one is what I term deselection, right? So we see a lot of women actually opting out of entrepreneurship because of what they perceive to be the risks that are associated with entrepreneurship. So the pool that we're working with is not as large as it could be, right? So that's the first problem. The second one is unconscious bias. So people fund who look like them, people that look like them, people that they recognize something in background or anything like that. So we all know that the rooms where decisions around investments are made are dominated by a certain profile of individual, i.e. white males. So, if we don't intentionally look at changing the profile of those rooms, then we're going to continue with this problem. So for example, when we signed the pledge last year, we pledged that we would fund 25% or 25% of the money that we invest this year is going to go towards women-founded businesses or with women as shareholders. But what we managed to achieve was actually 50%, so double of what we pledged. And notwithstanding the fact that the women that we've invested in are running sound businesses with sound fundamentals, 60% of our IC is actually women. And I think that's a big driver in terms of what we've actually managed to achieve. So intentionality goes a long way. The third one is networks and access to capital, right? So a lot of people, when you speak to them, they'll tell you that they like to source deals from their connections. And a lot of women are not part of those connections, right? Especially women of color that look like me. They don't have access to those networks. So we do need to think differently around where we source our deals, where we find pipeline, and be intentional again around it. The fourth one I see as risk perception, right? I've been in IC rooms where a man has been asked, where do you see yourself in 5 years? But then the same question to a woman is, if you start a family, how will you balance that with your business, right? It's the same question. So there's a risk perception associated with women around, how they'll manage the business based on their gender. So, and the last one for me is also the type of funding instruments that we use, right? So women typically start businesses in sectors that aren't traditionally male-dominated, right? They're not the high-growth businesses. So they're in the ed-tech, health-tech spaces, and those spaces sometimes require different funding instruments, right? And we need to be open to considering and being innovative around the kind of funding instruments that we use when we look at those businesses. So,
Absolutely love that, especially the types of funding instruments linked to those types of businesses. It's always safe to do the safe and then hope that the safe goes in perpetuity. But you're right, versus the equity discussions. Absolutely love that, and I'll definitely come back to the summary when we get there. Thank you, Tsili. Namara, you've got the tough one. You've got the topic around accountability. Not that any of these questions aren't tough. So Do you think we should actually get to a point where there are compliance mechanisms put in place, reporting requirements put in place, hold signatories accountable for pledges, for gender numbers? Talk to us about that accountability.
Yeah, thank you for this question. I think we need to take up a more like public flogging approach. If you haven't invested in women in the public square, no. But I think that accountability is a big missing part in the conversation that we're always having. And like you said, we're going to be here next year on this panel having this conversation with the needle having moved 0.072%. Not discussing exactly how do we get money into women's hands. Just, give women money. And I think that accountability is a critical part of this. So some of our LPs, for example, are holding us very much accountable to the numbers that we committed to. So you said you're going to do at least X, and at least Y will be 2X eligible, and what have you done so far, and where is my money going if it's not going to what you committed to? And I think that there's multiple levels of accountability that we need to put in place, from the LP level to partner level. AWS should be asking us, where are the women in your portfolio? How do we support them? And I think even more so from a founder level and from a GP level, when I'm having these conversations, I need to more ask, how many women do you have in your portfolio? Why are you not giving women money? So that we start to address it on a personal level. You're speaking to someone you're fundraising from. How many women do you have in your portfolio? What kinds of industries are you interested in? And if not, why? Let's start to get down to the actual crux of the matter. I don't think we need, and thank you very much for Africa Arena for having me, another panel to talk about it. I think we just need to start doing the thing and start holding each other accountable to do the thing. So we require multiple levels of accountability, but it's not just the GPs amongst the people that committed. It's our LPs, it's the partners that we work with. It's Thea asking me, cool, you're coming to WWBA, what did you do last year? Maybe you should only sit on this panel if you're actually investing in women. Maybe you should only speak about certain things if you're actually doing the do. And if we're not doing the do, then we need to get down to why. Is it because women are building in health tech? Lovely. How do we start to invest more in health tech? Let's just, as you can imagine, I'm in a place where I'm just like, guys, please.
Yeah,
please.
Absolutely. Namara, we're good on time. So I want to go one level down in terms of accountability with, talk to me about what you think about accountabilities with our ICs, with the boards of our own VCs, of the portfolio companies, team composition.
Yes, absolutely. I think she mentioned this already, but it's important to have diversity at every level. We can't just expect to begin to invest in women without women holding the capital, without women sitting on ICs, without women sitting on our boards and actually beginning to influence these decisions on every level. So you said it already as well, balance is critical. We are not going to achieve any of this if there's women are not holding capital themselves, women are not sitting on ICs, women are not sitting on boards. We're just going to keep running around in this circle. I'll be 72 sitting on this panel complaining about its 3.6% or whatever. But I think at every level, if we don't achieve this balance, we're not going to have the accountability that's required.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And why that, for me, is a practical question and solution. All of us have a voice. And literally, I know I can go back. We're busy raising the next fund. I can go back. I have a little say to say, do we have at least half, if we can, 35% to start with is good, IC members who are female. In fact, I'll demand 50. But it's not about the demand. It's about the little impacts we can all make. We all have those decisions that we can influence. I really love that. Thanks, Namara. Henry, thank you for being brave.
Yes.
Welcome to the panel, and you've done such good work, and you, in this space specifically, and truly, as Namara said, we shouldn't speak about this if we don't really actively work at this, and you've been working actively at this for many years. So I want to talk about how we can accelerate the rise of women to make decisions in startup leadership. And let's just add VC whilst we add it.
was hoping you'd say the ad part, because it is the whole canvas, right? So, has anybody heard about ESG? I'm sure you have. And the world top funds all have ESG reporting. It is the same, put it this way, output, that visibility that is required across the ecosystem. I think our Africa investors are doing well, and I think we touched very briefly on that. So I want to thank you for that. But we should really focus on ESG, and it should be, basically, it should be the entry requirement. That's definitely, I think, across the board, across startups, across any sort of business, focus on ESG. Women has a right to equality and jobs. Now I'd like to go to the part that I get very passionate about, which is the women founders. So I use anecdotal feedback, which is going around and meeting the founders and then asking, what do you need? And so it's for me a super privilege to sit with you, Women Who Build Africa, because one of the biggest challenges is networking. We should encourage networking. We should support the ecosystem that is currently doing that. Women Who Build Africa is one. Grindstone helped us with our Women Demo Month. We have Women in Tech. We should really just keep driving that. Get out, go network. It's the biggest strength that any founder, and specifically women, can work on. The secondary thing is skills. So of those 2,000 that I would meet, 80% have ideas. So there's different kind of skills. There's, yes, cloud development skills. I want to tell everybody here, there's a free skill center for anybody to walk into, get intuitor-led on the corner of the street. It's the first one outside of the USA. It's virtual. If you have a hub anywhere, connect the team. The lady that's working there is called Tiara Pathon. I'll connect you myself. And what's great about that is it is not just instructor-led. It is also virtual. So if you have priorities to do, which let's say a family, then you can still attend the training. Now that's more the technical stuff, right? That's building, because you had an idea, you want to build. The other skill is understand the reality that Africa's investors, well, put it this way, the co-founder stats say that, exactly like you mentioned, there's a certain success rate in certain segments, and I'm going, yeah, health tech, more co-founded women are there, and I had amazing stats, actually from out of Tunis, in Africa Arena. Thank you for inviting me there. Something like 80% of all the healthcare startups in Tunisia is a woman-led businesses. That is tremendous. So we should button down there, right? But then we should ask the question, do women founders know, future founders, know that the biggest invested segment is fintech or financial services? That's fintech, that's banking, that's insurance. It's a whole value chain down there, right? So we should encourage that knowledge to proliferate across the whole market. And then definitely, the secondary thing is more to say, if you have a initiative around women in tech, please reach out. AWS have a dedicated team called the Underrepresented Founders Team. There's not a dollar accounting discussion. It's a button-down discussion. So please reach out if you would like to have support in your initiative. I cannot do this on my own. Africa is really just too big, 54 countries, so I will definitely lean on any partner that does that, and so on. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
That's fabulous, Henry, and you've been year in and year out showing that commitment and AWS, so thank you for that. Last but certainly not least, Thea, I want to talk about cultural change, and I think, Tsili, you also spoke about the biases and so on. So There's a study, I think it's a MasterCard study, every year looking at women in Africa and the very different societal norms across the African countries. And interestingly enough, I think it's Ghana that's the most gung-ho for women-founded businesses, the balance specifically. But how do we challenge these societal norms? I mean, it's cultural, it's familial, it's all of that and above, and then a number of biases that deter the woman from coming into the space to get the balance.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine. I think, to a lot of your points as well, this conversation that we keep having over and over and over, I don't think it's helping. I think these depressing numbers, we've all heard them. I think stories are one of the most powerful things that we have, right? Can we tell more stories of successful women that have been here, that have, seen growth, that have seen success? Can we show other women what they could be aspiring to? I think that's one of the reasons that we created our network, that created Women Who Build Africa, is to enable those connections, to enable that mentorship, to enable a woman to see herself in the shoes of someone else who has been there, when often a lot of the success stories that we see in the news are people that don't look like them, right? So I think that's a really big thing that we should be looking to change the narrative on. But I think, women, I was just talking with someone about this outside. I think inherently we are not different, right? We are not less business oriented. We are not less, risk taking. We are not incapable of managing teams and businesses and being leaders. But there is an element of nurture, right? I think no matter where we're from, the vast majority of us are taught from a very young age that we need to take up less space, that our voice needs to be less loud, that we need to be even more realistic and not boast and not be seen as coming off as bragging and that sort of thing. And I think that really hinders women from even raising their hand to get in the space. I think women are afraid to ask. We don't think that we're capable of asking for help, for asking for feedback, asking for money. Often, I think a lot of the women that I work with in our organization think that they need to get to a certain place before they're even eligible to start asking for funding, to start creating pitch decks, to start putting themselves out there. And on the flip side of that, as we see in these statistics, we're often better with money, right? We often give higher returns to investors that do put money into women-founded companies. So it kind of plays on both sides. But I think, as an investor on the other side, there was a panel yesterday discussing what investors wants to see when people come and pitch to them. And I think we all kind of know in this space, especially at the very early stage, the numbers are inflated, right? We're, our market is massive and we're going to make all this revenue. I think women on the other side come in and almost undersell themselves, right? So I think even as investors, no matter what, you're going to do that calculation in your head, right? You know what the potential of that business is. So I think keeping in mind these natural kind of tendencies and inherent biases that we have on ourselves when a woman comes in and pitches can make a big difference as well, right? So understanding sort of where that person has been through in her life and what's kind of hindered her ability to come in with confidence, something we should really think about when women are.
I absolutely love that example. In fact, just 2 months ago, a female founder lost an investment in one of our funds because she was underselling the market to the point where, and you've just made me realize something, my voice in that room was not loud enough, to have noticed that and spoke about it. That was lovely. Thank you. You've all done so well on the time. We're going to wrap it up, and a one-sentence answer from each of you as we finalize this. One bold, innovative measure or thing we can implement across the ecosystem as we leave here today. What could that be? Namara, I'm going to start with you.
Give women money.
I love that. It's so right. Get the balance right. Yeah.
Right, and then talk about it.
Love that. Absolutely. Silly.
I don't know if it's bold, but it's simple. I think we need to bake into our investment mandates that we need to do this, right?
Yeah.
And I am a product of this. If somebody didn't have a target to, employ a woman, if someone wasn't intentional around employing a black woman like myself, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
Yeah.
So I think it is just that basic and that simple.
Love that.
That we need to
Love it.
be
Measure it.
intentional
Have
about
targets,
it and
yeah.
and bake it into our investment mandates.
Love that.
I'd like to encourage all those lovely grant funds to step 100% into only grants for women, founded businesses, because it helps lengthen the line towards success, set somebody up. And if you're interested in doing that, join the Digital Collective Africa group from Africa Arena. Support Africa Arena. This organization agreed with me that this year we will have 3 out of 10, so in other words, 30% co-founded women businesses. That was the condition. And so do support that. They need the support to do this. We do this in 8 different countries, cities across Africa. There are 54 countries, and there's women founders everywhere. So yeah, please, button down.
I absolutely love it. Thank you, Henry.
Pleasure.
I want to leave you with this thought. Can we sit here 3 to 5 years from now speaking about male diversity? I'm being serious. It's about the balance. Let's go do this thing.